So taking a look at the AFC playoff picture, the Broncos, after their win over the Chiefs, still sitting kind of pretty, atop of the AFC with that 13-3 record, but just nipping at their heels is the New England Patriots. Jags still sitting there with that third seed, and Steelers yet to clinch a playoff berth, still looking to lock that down. But as we stand, Steelers and Texans got some work to do over these next couple days. Back here with Emory Hunt. And Emory, just how good should the Broncos just feel about their chances of getting that one seed in the AFC? I mean, all they have to do realistically, beat the Chargers at home, Week 18. Easy, right?
Easy peasy, right? Chargers will have a little say in that, but I will say that you got to feel good because you have to only win 2 games to get to Santa Clara, which is not that far of a flight from Denver to San Francisco area, right? Like, so at the end of the day, you got to like that. So also, we know the significant home field advantage that it is playing in Mile High Stadium or, the Mile High City. So playing at home, knowing you're used to the altitude and used to, the environment, and you have a great defense, you have a quarterback that's a gamer, this is excellent for you. So if they can just beat the Chargers in Week 18, they have the #1 seed, like you mentioned, Kiana. So you have to feel good, confident, and you're coming off beating the Chiefs, so you even have more confidence going to that game against Los Angeles.
Yeah, getting a look right here. The simplest path, the simplest, obviously, get that win next week, Week 18, against the Chargers. But there's some other situations and scenarios that could happen that could guarantee those Broncos that top seed. But now let's flip over to the NFC playoff picture. Seattle still owning that top spot, but things can get very tricky, Emory, as the 49ers, if they can win out, they have games against the Bears coming up on Sunday Night Football, and then in the season finale against the Seahawks. If they win out, they jump to that 1 seed. But meanwhile, Bears still vying for it, Seahawks still vying for it, Eagles currently clinched. Only spot open, that's South. Who want the South? Panthers currently in, Bucks still trying to fight their way in. Okay, so just given all the preseason hype and the fact that the Lions, I mean, they were the #1 overall seed in the NFC just a year ago from right now. How would you describe just how disappointing it is that there will not be any postseason football in Detroit this year?
Very disappointing because they got out-Lions against the Minnesota Vikings that subsequently got them knocked out the postseason. They wasn't able to run the football like they wanted to when they wanted to. The defense just really gave up a lot in terms of the yards in that nature, and the one big play that ultimately broke the game open. And on offense, their offensive line just was giving up so much room to that defensive front. They got Jared Goff under the rest in the pocket, and they forced 6 turnovers. They hadn't had 6 turnovers all season long. They had, 8 in the entire season and 6 in this past game, and not many in the last 4 weeks, if not any in the last 4 weeks. So this was very un-Lions-like to close out the season. It's just unfortunate because this team has explosive run game, has a dynamic passing game, has a defense, has a tremendous edge rusher in Aiden Hutchinson, and a defense in the back 7 that was playing really good opportunistic football. So it's unfortunate, but this is the reason why you have to have depth. This is the reason why you really want to make sure your ducks are in a row. And we see how tough this NFC picture is when we look at these 4 teams and talk about teams 2, 3, 5, and 6. You're talking about teams that, on Philly's side of things, Philly and the Bears, they're talent-ridden. So they give you a problem with talent. The Rams and 49ers, you got to deal with talent plus the X's and O's of the coaching that is great. You know what I'm saying? So Detroit not being in the mix and seeing 2 of their compadres in the mix, the Bears and the Packers, is a problem.
Yeah, I think earlier in this season, we probably assumed that we might see 3 teams from the NFC North in the postseason picture. And it also started at one point to look very promising, but instead, after that bye, things kind of spiraling for the Lions. But meanwhile, hey, with that loss, the Packers, they punched their ticket, leaving 1 playoff spot open in the NFC. So, Emory, let's take a look at this. What catches your eye most when you look at the playoff picture where we stand right now?
Again, 2, 3, 5, and 6. Bears, Eagles, talent-ridden. They cause a lot of problems. That's a matchup you don't want. 5 and 6 are the schematic matchups that will drive you crazy with Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan on top of the talent that they have. So this is going to be a wide-open NFC playoff picture. And the #1 seed, Seattle, they got great defense, and they attack you. On offense, if Sam Darnold is playing on his game, he makes a ton of throws down the field. He has great athleticism, but their defense is what their calling card is. because they attack you downhill. They can get after the quarterback. They stop the run. So it's a coin flip. It's a wide open field on both sides of the conferences, AFC and NFC. I can't wait to see certain conferences to be in, and now that we don't have these teams, we're excited at the fact that we're going to get a wide open playoff. We may get the best Super Bowl yet because the playoffs are so wide open.
Absolutely. It's a little bit of a changing of the guard, so to speak, in what we're seeing. But you talk about Seattle, and you've mentioned their defense, but just look at what they have with JSN on offense and what they have been able to do. Now we just want to see if Sam Darnold can not do what he did last year in the playoffs for Minnesota. But from the top of the order, let's head to the bottom as we turn our attention to the 2026 draft. Here's a look at the top 10. Giants currently owning that top pick in the draft, followed by the Raiders, then the Browns and Jets. But one thing I want to bring to your attention, taking a look at Kansas City picking 10th in this year's draft. The last time they picked in the top 10 was when they had Eric Fisher, who was picked first overall back in 2013. But what should the Chiefs be targeting in this year's draft?
Kiana, I am so glad you asked me that question because there is a certain tailback that would be an ideal fit for Kansas City. If we think about Kansas City, we think about their passing game, we think about Patrick Mahomes. We don't think about the dominant run game anymore because they don't have one. But here comes the solution in the form of Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame. If they're able to get their hands on an explosive tailback to go along with their passing game, and then you, in the middle rounds, you get the interior offensive line help to help bolster the offensive line depth like they had when they were in their heyday, my goodness, be on the lookout for Kansas City. I tell you about a team that's going to be good. It's going to be Kansas City if they get their hands on Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame. Now, that's one element. I do think they need a game breaker at running back. I also feel like they need interior offensive line help. So, but if I'm sitting there at 10, boy, oh boy, Love out of Notre Dame would be a perfect fit in Kansas City, Kansas, or Kansas City, Missouri, or wherever they're going to play at.
Maybe a nice piece to add with Andy Reid and then also bolstering that O-line, giving some Patrick Mahomes a little help over there. But the Cowboys, I mean, they're still feeling the effects of trading away Micah Parsons. Dallas currently sitting with the 15th overall pick in the draft. So, I'm going to ask you, is pass rusher the area that Jerry Jones should be targeting?
Yes, because this was where I was going to put Jeremiah Love. But seeing how well they ran the football this year with Malik Davis and Javonte Williams, who went over 1,100 yards this season, the run game is actually fine. They have playmakers at wide receiver. They have a competent run game, a complement to their passing game. But when we look at their defense, they've solved the interior. Quinnen Williams, Kenny Clark, fantastic. Donovan Ezaraku, the rookie they drafted this year, he's also coming along strong, but they need to continue to bolster the depth along the defensive line. Getting a pass rusher would be ideal. Someone like Ruben Bain would, in my opinion, be very good for them because he is someone that plays physical. He can set a physical edge. He would also take the attention away from Ezaraku, who's more of a speed guy, to get around the edge. So I think now you're cooking with gas if you're able to get a pass rusher in the terms of a Ruben Bain for the Dallas Cowboys to help bolster the defense. Because, again, it wasn't the offense that was the issue this year. It was the defense. If they can be good on defense, I didn't say great, I didn't say terrible, just be good. That's 12 and up. If they could be that on defense with this offense that we've seen and this offensive line that they've been able to put together through the draft, Dallas will be right back in the playoffs once again. So I think edge rusher is where they need to go.
You'll see if Jerry Jones takes your advice or opts to go the way that Jerry wants to do it. But let's talk about their division rival, the Commanders. You'd like to think the future's bright, obviously looking at Jaden Daniels, especially once he's healthy. But aside from him, this is the oldest roster in the NFL right now. What are the biggest needs for Washington?
It's funny. You say it's the oldest roster, right? I feel like they got to get younger at linebacker, right? It's Bobby Wagner's a future Hall of Famer. Yeah. You got to get younger there. If they can get younger in the second level, I think that helps them out. And I know Arvell Reese may be gone by the time they get the pick, depending on how people see the quarterback position or whatnot. But, man, what a great pick out of Ohio State would be an ideal fit for the Washington Commanders. If they can get younger and more athletic at linebacker, I think that bodes well for them. I also look at the fact that interior offensive line, continuing to building that depth there and helping your quarterback, Jaden Daniels, stay upright for the full season. And running back, I know they got Bill Krosky-Merritt, but they need a foundational guy. I think what they have currently on the roster are a bunch of RB2s. If they get a foundational RB1 in the draft to go along with what they have in Bill Krosky-Merritt and all of those guys that they have, I think they'll be fine. But I would start first getting younger at linebacker,
Okay.
younger on the edges, and also then building that depth at running back and also interior offensive line.
I was going to throw it out there. You know, they are picking above Kansas City. So if Love is there sitting at number 7 for Washington, maybe that could be that foundational piece. But
they need to get. I mean, listen, they're older on this.
Let's be honest. They need to get young all the way around the roster. So let's just put it like that. And they have an opportunity to do that come April. Good stuff right there. We'll see how it all takes shape. But how about we look a little more in the nearer future?
Speaking of old.
Here's a look at what's coming up Sunday on CBS. Don't be rude, because Aaron Rodgers at 1 p.m. and the Steelers, they're visiting the young Shador Sanders and the Browns. Sam Darnold leading the Seahawks against his former team, the Panthers. And then at 4:05 Eastern, the Giants and Raiders. They're going to square off in the battle for that first overall pick we're just talking about. That's something else we could be talking about.
Facts.
You can also stream the action over on Paramount+. The Broncos inch just that much closer to that top seed. And meanwhile, have we seen the last of that man in Arrowhead? Highlights between the Broncos and the Chiefs. That's coming your way next.